I'm gonna do more of these. This is a question, and it's from Sabrina. Can you make a six-figure income without opening up a store? And the answer is yes. I'm actually going to recommend going forward. You don't even open up a store for the following reasons. Number one, the trend is everyone's shopping online. You've heard of the trend called showrooming. That stores are now going to price match items online because they have to. Not because they want to, but they have to. And what you're going to see is more distribution centers. You're going to see more warehouses. I wouldn't be surprised if warehouse rent goes up because the warehouse thing is going to be where the money is because you need space to make money, not a store. Let me tell you what's going to happen if you open up a store. You're going to go through a lot of regulatory bullshit that will just blow your mind at times. Depending on where you are, you may not even be able to have the type of sign you want. You may not be able to paint outside the building depending on what's on your. There's so many things that go into having a retail store and you don't own the property. I will say if you have a family member or you actually own a building outright, totally different ball game. Totally different ball game. Because if you own the building, you can make any modification you want, and you may or may not be able to put the signage up. Signage is super important. Some places, if you go and everyone has those cookie cutter like signs, or the signs are really small and you don't see them until you get up there, those are neighborhood associations saying, hey, you can't have these big signs. A neighborhood I used to live in, Dunwoody, for a long time they had a covenant. You couldn't have a sign on a pole that was taller than 6 feet. Seriously, you couldn't do it. So unless people wouldn't see your business till they just drove right up on it. That is not good for a lot of businesses. So, but if you go start a business in one of those neighborhoods, it's best to go to the community meetings, check out the city hall, see what kind of climate is there for a business because a lot of them are hostile, really, really hostile. So with the store thing and the business license, certificate of occupancy, exit signs, all the stuff that you got to go through, and my opinion, it's 2013. I'm going to say by 2023, 20%, maybe 35% of the malls that you currently know of are going to close. They're not going to make it. You see it with these blighted strip malls. They're just not going to make it because if you look at the trend of online shoppers, people are going. If you look at the trend of what's happening with, say, personal computers, people are doing everything either on their phone or their combination of their iPad. For some people, the only computer they have in their life is their smartphone. That's it. And that trend has accelerated that more and more people are shopping mobile. So what you need is a website and space and a merchant account. That's all you need. That's what you need to make six figures. You do not have to have a store. A store, in my opinion, is like a child that doesn't grow up. Sure, you can hire employees. Sure, you can get a manager, but you are always on unless you just have a top-notch, excellent staff. And if you're going to have a top-notch, excellent staff, you're going to be paying them top-notch, excellent money, which means your business needs to be really pulling in some money for them to be paid well and for you to be paid well. Because I'll tell you a little secret. There's a lot of business owners and their employees make more money than they do. They own the business because it's an asset, but they're employees, and I'm talking about collectively. I'm talking about per salary. They make more than the owner because the owner's looking at the big picture. So understand, get yourself a warehouse. You need a minimum of 3,000 square feet in resale because I see so many crazy things because you will hit an income ceiling. You will hit an income ceiling as soon as you hit a space ceiling. Once you max out your space, your income's not going up anymore. You can tweak it here, you can tweak it there. In retail, they have a calculation, and I learned this from a real estate agent when I was out looking at property. And he was talking to another guy on the phone, and the guy was saying, we need X amount of square feet because based on our metrics, when we have X amount of square feet, we make more money. And I was just like, I never really thought about that. And just based on that, just hearing that conversation for 5 minutes, I was able to look because you'll see a store open and you'll look and they don't have enough square feet to make money because you're only going to sell 20-30% of what you have in stock. But if you have 100, you have enough room for 100 items, right? And you sell 20-30. Say you have enough room for 1,000 items. You sell 200, 300. Same percentage rate, but the number that goes in your pocket is much higher. You can't get around this. I mean, unless you're doing, what I'm doing, creating informational products, digital products, writing books. It is really hard when you're in a buy and resell environment to scale up without increasing your space. And many people are not going to make that commitment. They're just not going to do it. They're just going to keep spinning their wheels. But yeah, you get yourself a 3,000 square foot warehouse. And once you get that full, plan to move within a year or two, because optimally you can do a lot out of 5,000 to 10,000 square feet. You can do a lot, and I'm talking seven figures, about the 10,000 square feet mark, because see, this is the thing, you're looking at it from one level. If you got 10,000 square feet and you have racks, you have 30,000 square feet if you have 3 tiers. If you have 4 tiers, you have 40,000 square feet. So the math just goes straight crazy, but it's harder to do with smaller spaces because you need rooms for the pallet tracks, the forklifts, and stuff like that. But definitely warehouse first. Forget about a store. You don't need it. Don't do it. And I will make an exception to if you're selling clothing and shoes, which are high touch. People like to try them on, and sometimes women don't even trust them on. They just like to run their fingers over the fabric. Ooh, this feels soft. I like it, and to buy it, that high feel touch thing. And in the future, that's kind of going to go away because more and more people are going to, we have a generation that's becoming very comfortable shopping online only. So when they really start taking over, then that's going to go away. But definitely, you can do really, really well with just a warehouse and nothing else. Because this is the thing. I think, if you're a certain age, growing up a store is a sign of success. Like, it's real easy to say, hey, I own a store. That's a very successful thing to say. And people are like, oh, that's really nice. So what do you do and everything? And you immediately get that esteem. Oh, yeah. And really, I'm telling you, it's not that great. My personal experience with a store, I hated being on the floor. I did it because I was good at it, but I hated being on the floor. I felt trapped like an animal because you're on. Every time someone comes to the door, hey, sir, how you doing? Hey, you got to do that. You got to greet people as they walk in. Even at the garage sale, hey, how you doing? I would literally be exhausted after a garage sale or a weekend sale because you're just putting out so much. Now imagine doing that every day. That's one of the reasons we did not open up. After we got out of the retail spots and went strictly warehouse only, we knew we only had to deal with that stuff X amount of days. And what's really funny, and we experimented, once we trained our customers that we're only going to be open on certain days, they set their schedules to that, and we didn't lose any money. It was roughly, we lost some money by not being open every day of the week, but not much. Because we were open the days that most people were off. So they had the ability to come in. Because typically if we were staying, when we went to stores, we noticed, retirees, we would get them throughout the day, or, sometimes get people off. Or if we had a really hot item on Craigslist, people would take time off from work to come look at it and make the purchase. But most of the day it was just, doing stuff, fixing stuff, working on stuff. It was not a lot of robust activity for us. I know that's not the case for a lot of malls and stuff, but just depending on where you are, I would definitely stay away from a store. And it's the thing, and it's pretty much, in my opinion, and I don't do eBay, this is just my opinion based on some research and the experiences of others. You get a store on eBay, okay? You get to stack all this stuff up on eBay. I don't know how they're doing the search feature. I do know when you have a store on eBay and they include those items in properly in search, it's wonderful. It's awesome. Years ago, we had a store on eBay, and when we were in search, oh my God, wake up, 15, 20, 30 items sold every day. It was like, I'm putting more stuff up there. It's like, and then they changed it, and it was like 1-2 sales a month. And I was just like, what the hell? And it was just really, really frustrating. So if, I'm just speaking out my ass here because I don't do eBay. I have no intentions of doing eBay, and I'm not messing with eBay. But if you can be assured that the search is, that your items are popping up in search where they should be, Because the thing is, they can rig search any way that they want to. I witnessed it. You know, if you've ever put up an item up on eBay and you couldn't find your own item that you know was listed, you're like, what the hell? It just lets you know different sellers get different rankings, different sellers get different promotions and push, and you may just get trampled. You can have the same exact item, keyword the same exact way, and another seller's stuff's going to show up way before yours. That's how the game is played. But if you're going to do a store, online store only. And, you know, that would be my thing. Online store only, and you really get it to where they're coming to buy. Get it where they're coming to buy, because exposure without context and engagement is bullshit. You know, a lot of people are like, yeah, you're on the internet, you get all this exposure. I mean, you go to the mall and you see thousands of people when you go to the mall. You're exposed to them. How many of those people do you remember when you get home? Very few. Very few stood out. There was probably a few, you know, and you were probably romantically attracted to them, but that was it. Or they were doing something crazy, like walking around going, you know, those people were memorable. But you were exposed to thousands of people going to the mall, in and out, shopkeepers, clerks, people in the food court, and you don't even remember any of them. So that's, you know, how the exposure thing worked. But real quick, in lesson on warehouses. When you're shopping for a warehouse, call up real estate agents, they're commercial real estate agents, tell them it's like, look, I'm looking to open up a business in about 12 months, and you know, they'll be happy to hear from you, and tell them what your needs are, and they'll show you properties. Ask these questions. Is it permissible for me to have a retail type operation? And when they say retail, yes, it's like I sell stuff and they're going to buy it online, but they're going to come here to pick it up. Which is true, because that's where that's where your website and all this other stuff. And a lot of people, it's really cool. Some place, light industry, that's strictly how they operate. You have people that manufacture stuff in the warehouse district. People come pick it up, FedEx truck. And typically, when you look at the warehouse, if you go there and you don't see a lot of parking spots, typically it's going to be coded non-retail and just light industrial or even heavy industrial only. But typically, if you're paying your bills and stuff, you can kind of get away with it. But it just really, really depends. I mean, this is where you get into that dull, dry stuff of going down to the county, talking to code people, what's permissible, talking to other business owners. Because I'm telling you, man, God is my witness. I don't miss messing around with code enforcement people. That stuff is like enough to drive you crazy at times, because they will make you move aside. They will make you rip out a transaction counter if it is not in accordance with the American Disabilities Act. I had a friend, he had to rip out a $4,000 counter and put in a new one, lower it to comply with that act. That's the kind of stuff that happens when you get stores. You got to be really, really careful. And you know, if you don't believe me, go through your neighborhood and look at how many businesses that were open a year ago that are now closed. I mean, it's crazy. 4 or 5 months. It's like when they run out of money or they realize that this thing's a turkey, a lot of people will bail. And understand, they broke a lease. They still owe money. Depending upon the real estate company, they may or may not come after them. Usually they don't, because it's not worth it, and they'll just take the offset on their taxes. But no. Don't do a store. Not in this age, not the way things are trending. Don't do a store. It's just an ego thing, because what you think, when I was in the business, I spent 90% of my time looking for stuff to sell. And my partner handled the other side with processing and stuff. And you make your money out there in the field buying stuff. You don't make your money sitting in the store. No. You make your money when you get your inventory. That's when you make your money. You have to put your efforts into the things that make money. Going out and getting inventory makes money. Marketing makes money. Those are money-making activities. Having a store, dusting a store, mopping the floor, that doesn't make money. I'm telling you, my warehouse was bare bones. It was concrete studs, no air conditioning, no heat. Middle of winter, it's 28 degrees outside. There's 120 people in that sucker like this. But they're buying. That's like, buy faster. They'll warm you up, right? because we would take 2 blowers first thing in the morning and just like poof, heat up the place best we could, then turn it off. Because the gas bill, because one of my neighbors told me, he's like, we had the gas on for 2 months. I was like, that's how he did it. He said we had the gas on for 2 months. And I said, really? Why? And his space was 1/3 the size of ours. He said that gas bill was $800. And we didn't run it all day. We only ran it periodically. I said, for real? He said, for real. And then he said we turned it off, and we still had to pay like an extra month because he said it's $2,400 to have that gas on for 2 months. So you got to take into account all that stuff. So it's really, like I said, it was just really ahead of my time with, straight to warehouse, website only, eBay, Craigslist, because you can definitely do it. It's just your infrastructure has to be bigger. It has to be much bigger. You're not going to do this out of your house. You're not going to do this out of 1,000 square feet. You're not going to do it out of 1,800 square feet. You're not going to do it out of 3,000 square feet, but 3,000 square feet will get you started and get you close. And you might even do 6 figures out of 3,000 square feet, depending on how well you utilize your space. But it's not happening out the house. Just letting you know that right now. Just to throw some numbers out there, you could probably do 50, maybe 60 out the house. Because, see, this is another limitation. It's just you. That's one of the biggest. You don't have any help. And if you're only doing 50, 60,000, you don't have a lot of money to actually pay someone. So you've hit that ceiling. It's real hard to get past that, because any halfway decent employee is going to cost you at a minimum $200 to $400 a month. And over a course of a year, that's $3, $4, $5 grand. Let's just say $400 a month, right? Okay, that's 5 G's a year. You making 60, 5 G's? That's damn near 10% of what you make on one employee. So, but hey, now if you're doing 160 and you're paying out, an employee 10, it doesn't hurt so much. Shit, you can pay them 20. It still doesn't hurt that much. You feel it, but it's not like, I can't breathe. Because you're going to notice that at 60. You're going to notice it really hard. So that's another thing, and also you're only going to get so far by yourself. At our height, we had 15 people working for us. You're only going to do so much because, and I was a freaking slave driver. It's like, this is your assignment sheet. This is your quota for the day. This is what needs to happen. If it ain't happening, you ain't coming back. It was just like that, because that's a whole nother ball game with employees. I'm not even gonna get into that. But simply put, get yourself some space, get your infrastructure more robust. You will have to have a better vehicle. If you don't have a box truck, you need at least a V8 that can tow a big ass trailer. The more stuff you have, the more money you will make. And I don't get that. People just like, I know why people love picking, because you can kind of pick what you think is best and lower your risk and exposure. But I bought one unit, and it wasn't a super unit. It wasn't a fantastic unit, but I bought one unit at one auction for $400. They got me more stuff than most pickers are going to get in 3 months of picking. And that's it. At some point, you're going to have to make that decision, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt because you usually buy capacity in advance of the good stuff that comes from that capacity, which means you're paying before you get paid. That's how it is. But that's pretty much the deal. If you want to make some money without a store, it is the best way to go. Wouldn't mess with a store. And essentially, you just got to find the space. And another little tip, get as close to a main drag as possible. If you're like 6 miles off the main road, you may have some problems unless you're in the country and everyone's used to driving long distances. Here in Atlanta, you tell people it's 30 minutes, they start losing interest. I don't care. It's just like, ooh, that's such a long way. Because in there, it's like, it's an hour. Just an hour driving time. And if they don't like driving, that's one of the reasons that we did delivery. That's another way you can make money. Get people to buy it on your site and deliver it to them. It's a beautiful thing. I was doing it from Craigslist with a Picasa album. I don't want to hear you can't do it. People will do it if your presentation is tight enough. If they're not doing it, your presentation is not tight enough. It's not them, it's you. Because people are dropping anywhere from $20 to $200,000 on purchases online every freaking day. All right, so check it out. All right, this is Glendon, and hit up the Hustler Mindset newsletter, HMS newsletter, kicking off some other stuff in March. It's going to be pretty awesome. And with that, I'll see you on the good side.